Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Branscombe. The date today is 5/20/2017. This is my final presentation for Heather Marnell's Foundation of Online Learning, Spring 2017 class. Unseen, unheard, and unafraid. These words make up the service motto of the agency I've chosen to research. The final project assignment has offered a unique opportunity for me to research a career that I've always been interested in. Imagine working in a hostile environment where a miscalculation in sight picture, even as small as a fraction of an inch, could end an innocent person's life immediately. Panic, turbulence, and the tight confines of the fuselage are all precursors to a fatal error. As I mentioned before, the career interest topic I have selected is becoming a member of the Federal Air Marshal Service. The reason I chose this topic is because the training requirements and the challenge of the work environment intrigue me. Cardo Urso, a close combat instructor for the Federal Air Marshal training facilities, stated in an article published in the Washington Post, "Fighting someone in an airplane is like fighting someone in a phone booth." Can you imagine? The tight confines and the number of people in that environment offer a plethora of challenges. I'm currently working towards an associate's degree in counterterrorism studies. At one time, I had a coworker that was a member of the Federal Air Marshal Service. When I heard his stories of the training and day-to-day life, I've always wanted to know more. I am passionate about shooting and understanding the legalities of deadly force situations. I currently train people to protect government-regulated sites that, if were to be taken over by the wrong people, could potentially cause death or great bodily harm to the public. The speed at which a situation can turn into a deadly force encounter is astonishing. We must remain vigilant and become unconsciously competent with our tools of protection. Training is a big part of my life, whether that be for my career or for protecting my family. I take my time on the range very seriously. This presentation will cover a few basic questions an individual may ask when researching a career, starting with a brief history of the Federal Air Marshal Program, going on to salary, education and training, job duties, and career advancement opportunities. So what does a Federal Air Marshal do? The Federal Air Marshal Service is currently a branch that falls under the Transportation Security Administration, or the TSA. The Federal Air Marshals are responsible for security within the U.S. aviation industry. They are a small part of a very large security program. The FAMs protect passengers and crew members from hostile acts, such as hijackings, like those on 9/11 and other terrorist activities. FAMs are highly skilled and highly trained in airplane defensive tactics. The research. Did you know on September 11, 2001, there were only 33 Federal Air Marshals operating on U.S. flights? Now, on September 10, 2001, do you think this statistic would have been so shocking? The terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001 forever changed our world. The history. In 1961, JFK asked for protection from federal law enforcement officers on high-risk flights during the time of the Bay of Pigs invasion. In 1962, the Sky Marshal program was created to help keep flights safe from hijackings. In 1985, Middle East terrorism inspired President Ronald Reagan to implement change. As a result of the administration's changes, this was when the Federal Air Marshal program was first implemented. On September 11, 2001, there were 33 air marshals working. And on October 11th, 1 month later, 2001, President Bush's administration fast-tracked 600 more people into the Federal Air Marshal program. Entry-level salary. Although pay grades are based on education and experience, entry-level Air Marshal salaries typically begin with the G grade, which is between $39,358 on up to $60,982. If you have more time in, you have the potential to earn $90,717. What kind of education or training is required? To be considered as an entry-level candidate for the Federal Air Marshal Training Program, candidates must possess a bachelor's degree from an accredited school, or 3 years general job experience, or a combination of education and experience. The FAMs have their own intense training program, Federal Air Marshal Training Program. Federal Air Marshal Training Program 1 is 7 weeks long and is held at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Facility in Artesia, New Mexico. This training covers law enforcement basics. Federal Air Marshal Training Program 2 is more specific to the Federal Air Marshal role. It is 8.5 weeks long and mission-specific training that builds knowledge, skills, and abilities. It is held at the Transportation Security Administration Training Center in Atlantic City. Candidates are put into scenarios and realistic representations of the work environment FAMs will have to operate in. Simulators, experiential learning scenarios, and close quarters combat training are all expected here. What are some of the duties and responsibilities of Federal Air Marshal? U.S. Air Marshals are responsible for one part of the 21 layers in aviation security: search, seizure, and arrest, detect, deter, and defeat; protecting U.S. commercial aviation, participating in criminal investigations, representing the U.S. government in foreign countries, working with U.S. and foreign law enforcement agencies. In a direct quote from federallawenforcement.org, U.S. Air Marshals are armed federal law enforcement officers who are called upon to use their investigative techniques, their firearms proficiency, and their aircraft defense tactics to serve as a deterrent and a physical presence on U.S. civilian aircraft. Career advancement opportunities. Money. Starting with Federal Air Marshals, pay grades G through I. They can start at $39,358 and work all the way up to $90,717. After 1 year in the Federal Air Marshal Service, you can apply for Assistant Federal Security Director, which is a pay grade J, which ranges from $71,364 on up to $110,612. If an Air Marshal were to move into a supervisory ranks and take the position of Supervisory Federal Air Marshal, they could expect to make anywhere from $85,311 on up to $132,237, depending on experience. In addition to their post aboard civilian aircraft, U.S. Air Marshals serve as Assistant Federal Security Directors for law enforcement at airports across the country, and they are also found in a number of staff positions within the federal organizations such as the National Counterterrorism Center, the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Forces, and the National Targeting Center. Homeland Security may also use FAMs as a resource for large national events or during times when the nation is under heightened level of security. And in conclusion, I created a pros and cons list for the Federal Air Marshal Service. The pros. Federal Air Marshal Service has an exciting training program. I'd get to go through the program and then get to protect good people from bad. There's an amazing sense of pride with this job. The training is hard. Not everyone could become an Air Marshal. And the cons? Lower pay. The starting pay would be relatively low compared to where I've been fortunate enough to work up to. Risk? There's some risk involved in the job. The possibility my kids would lose their father is real. I'm a family man. I would have to drive 2 hours to and from O'Hare Airport in Chicago. My time with my family is precious. I don't want to miss out on these early years of my children's lives. And travel kind of ties in with the family man part. Here are my resources. In class, thank you very much, and good luck in all your future endeavors. Appreciate it.